Example, small island developing states such as Maldives
plays a major role in their economies.
Weather events such as wildfires, hurricanes, and heat waves.
Electricity generation, transport.
The planet's ability to absorb carbon emission.
Welcome to our podcast. First, let's introduce our panels for today. First member is Debralista Christy Robert. Second member is Vanessa Ixora Johnny. Third member is Clement Jungi Chin. Fourth member is Mohammed Zahiri Akmal Benjeri. Last member is Nurul Aina Farhana Bindi Dalan. Before we begin, I will explain the objective of today's podcast. Why? Because it is crucial for audiences, including you, to understand what the discussions is about. First of all, the topic is climate change is a global financial and economic crisis. Everyone knows what climate change is, do you? It is a hurricane, typhoon, flood, and earthquake. But not everyone understands how such disasters could affecting finance and economy. Therefore, this podcast will focusing on these issues. There are 4 segments that focusing on this topic. First, affected countries and causes of climate change. Second, causes and contributors to climate change. Third, chronology of the crisis and policy responses. Fourth, economic and financial impacts. I believe you understand the objectives so far. Good. So now let's listen to what our panels are going to say. In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. My name is Deborah, and today we will be discussing an important topic titled Climate Change as a Global Financial and Economic Crisis. Climate change is often seen as an environmental issue, but its effects go far beyond that. It affects economies, financial systems, and global development.
That's right, Deborah. Climate change is increasingly recognized as a major risk to global financial stability. Rising temperature, sea level rise, and extreme weather events can cause infrastructure damage, disrupt supply chains, and reduce economic productivity. This impact can weaken business performance and slow down national economic growth.
In addition, governments face increasing fiscal pressure due to disaster recovery and adaptation costs. Financial institutions also face higher credit risk when businesses and households are unable to repay loans after climate change. According to McBean, ignoring climate risk can lead to major economic disturbance in financial system.
Amen.
Uh, Furthermore, climate change creates uncertainty in financial market. Investors worry about stranded assets, particularly in industry that rely heavily on fossil fuel. This uncertainty can cause sudden asset repricing and market volatility.
So, in this podcast, we will explore several key topics: the countries most affected by climate change, and the causes and contributors to the crisis, the policy responses taken globally, and the overall economic and financial impacts of the climate change.
First of all, we will start by discussing which countries are most affected by climate change. Is it developed countries like Asia or developed countries like United States? Though climate change is a global issue, its impacts are not equally distributed. We can see that developing countries and small island states are often the most vulnerable because they rely heavily on climate sensitive sectors such as agriculture, fisheries, and tourism.
For example, small island developing states such as Maldives, Kiribati, Tuvalu face serious threat from rising sea levels. These rising sea levels can lead to coastal flooding and loss, and saltwater contaminating of freshwater resource. As a result, this country faces serious economic challenge because tourism and fisheries are key sector of their economy.
Similarly, South Asian countries such as Bangladesh and India frequently experience climate-related disasters like floods and cyclones. These disasters damage infrastructure, reduce agriculture productivity, and disrupt economic activity, which ultimately increase poverty and economic instability, according to World Bank 2022.
African countries such as Ethiopia, Somalia, and Kenya are also heavily affected by droughts and changing rainfall patterns. Since agriculture plays a major role in their economies, climate change can significantly reduce crop yields and food production, according to United Nations Environment Programme in 2021.
Even developed countries are not immune to climate change. Countries like the United States and several European nations have experienced more extreme weather events such as wildfires, hurricanes, and heat waves. According to according to National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administrations in their article Billion Dollar Weather and Climate Disasters on 2023, these disasters caused significant economic losses and increased government spending on disaster recovery.
Okay, now let's talk about the cause of climate change. The main cause is the increase in greenhouse gas emissions such as carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. These gas trap heat in atmosphere and contribute to global warming.
We understand that climate change is very dangerous. Therefore, one major source of greenhouse gas emissions is the burning of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas. These fuels are widely used in electricity generation, transportation, and industrial production. As global energy demand increases, carbon emissions continue to rise by International Energy Agency at 2023.
Deforestation is another major contributor. Forests absorb carbon dioxide through photosynthesis, but large areas of forest are cleared for agriculture, urban development, and logging. This reduces the planet's ability to absorb carbon emissions. By Food and Agriculture Organization 2022.
In terms of contributions, countries like China currently produce the largest amount of carbon emissions due to their large manufacturing sector coal. Meanwhile, the United States remains one of the largest emitters per capita because of high energy consumption and transportation use, according to International Energy Agency 2023.
This creates a major challenge in international climate negotiations because developing countries argue that developed nations should take greater responsibility since they historically contributed more emissions.
Next, let's talk about chronology of the crisis and policy response. Climate change gradually evolved from a environmental issue into financial crisis. Initially, it was treated mainly as an environmental concern, but over time, the financial implications become clearer.
One of the earliest international agreements was the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, established in 1992 to promote global cooperation in reducing greenhouse gas emissions, according to UNFCCC 1992.
Um, and this was followed by the Kyoto Protocol in 1997, which introduced legally binding emission reduction targets for developed countries. These agreements began influencing financial systems by introducing carbon pricing and emissions trading schemes.
A major turning point came in 2015 with the Paris Agreement. Countries, uh, countries agreed to limit global temperature increases to well below 2 degrees Celsius and pledged to provide financial support to developing countries for climate mitigation and adaptation, according to UNFCCC 2015.
More recently, financial regulators and central banks have started incorporating climate risk into financial regulations and stress testing frameworks. Organizations such as the Network for Greening the Financial System help financial institutions assess climate-related risks.
Now we talk about segment 4, economic and financial impact. Climate change has significant effect on global economic growth. Natural disaster disrupt agricultural production, manufacturing operation, and supply chain, which slow economic development.
Um, Not only that, currency values can also be affected. Countries that are highly vulnerable to climate risks are often seen as economically unstable, which may reduce foreign investment and lead to currency depreciation.
Financial markets are also affected. Investors face uncertainty in sectors such as energy, agriculture, and insurance. According to the International Monetary Fund, climate risk can increase volatility in stock markets and influence asset price.
Climate change also has special consequences. It can lead to job losses, higher living costs, food insecurity, and increased poverty. In many cases, vulnerable communities are the most affected because they lack the resources to adapt.
In conclusion, climate change is not only an environmental issue, but it is also a major global financial and economic crisis. Its impacts can be seen in infrastructure damage, reduced productivity, and increased government spending on disaster recovery.
We have learned that climate change affects countries differently, with developing nations often facing the greatest risk. At the same time, major industrialized countries have historically contributed the most greenhouse gas emission.
International cooperation is therefore essential. Agreements such as the Paris Agreement and global climate initiatives aim to reduce emissions and promote sustainable development.
Okay, next is government, business, and financial institutions must also invest in renewable energy, sustainable infrastructure, and green technology to reduce climate risk and protect economic stability.
Ultimately, addressing climate change is crucial for ensuring long term global financial stability, and sustainable economic growth.
That's all. That's all for our podcast. Thank you for listening.